everyone! If you're watching this video in the morning, good morning. Or if you're watching this video in the afternoon, good afternoon. Or if you're watching this video in the evening, good evening. Hi, I am Glaiza Biteng, a student in Bachelor of Secondary Education. This video is essential for the students or learners who wants to gain knowledge from the internet while at home. I am here to discuss and make an understanding about an interesting topic. And that topic is all about the purpose of communication in the workplace. Throughout this video, our lesson objectives in workplace communication are: first, you will be able to create clear, coherent, and effective communication materials. Second is that you will be able to present your ideas persuasively. And third is you will be able to adopt awareness of your audience and context in presenting and communicating ideas. While in business letters, you will be able to identify situations that require formal business letter writing and identify the elements of a formal letter. And you will be able to write the different types of business letters. So grab your pens and notes and listen to me and continue watching. Okay, hi everyone. As what I have said earlier, our main topic is all about the workplace communication. So in here, we're going to talk about 3 lessons, which is, of course, we're going to define workplace communication, and we're going to tackle about the advantages and the disadvantages of it. And lastly, we're going to discuss about the business letters. First, we're going to define workplace communication. So what is workplace communication? This is the transmitting of information between one person or group and another person or group in an organization. So basically, this is the exchange or the transmission of information of people in an organization. By this, it can be a way of sending emails, text messages, voicemails, and notes or memos. Workplace communication can either be verbal. Verbal is the use of voice tone or spoken words to convey information or messages, while written is the interaction through words we choose to write. Some of these are the use of emails, notes, memos. One example in a workplace communication in written is the business letters. This is the most commonly used in business or in a workplace. But later on, we're going to discuss that. Another thing is the extended, which is the use of communication aids. What is communication aids? This helps people who have little or no speech to communicate their needs, preferences, ideas, and to interact both socially and functionally. The examples are there. The charts with pictures, symbols, letters or words, and many more. Sorry. I also provided 5 effective workplace communication that you should or you can practice today, as of today, as an aspiring teacher or an aspiring worker in the future. First one is that you should give your undivided attention. Whether you're in a group meeting or with one employee or with your co-worker or your boss, offering your full focus to those you're with will greatly improve how you're received. How often have you been in a conversation with someone who kept looking at their phone or elsewhere while talking or listening to you. Lack of focus devalues the conversation, causing people to tune out. So maintain eye contact during conversations and meetings and put all other things aside to visually convey your focus and encourage each individual to stay present. Second one is important. You should take time to listen. Do not monopolize the conversation because after a while, people will start tuning you out and your message will be lost. Be frugal with your words, avoiding fluff and flippers. Pause after important points to take questions or check for understanding. This will help your staff members feel that they play an active role in the conversation. Third strategy that I thought is you should be mindful of how you're communicating because your words are only a fraction of the message you relay to your coworkers or to your employee or to any other people. Body language and tonality contribute heavily toward the effectiveness with which your communication is received. Maintain a relaxed stance and facial expression while speaking with your employees. Rest your arms by your sides rather than crossing them over your chest as this is a defensive posture like this. Imagine you're talking to your boss and or to a parent of your student and your posture is like this. Okay. Doesn't that seem like so defensive? Don't do that. Instead, you should make an eye contact, smile when it's appropriate, and nod your head affirmatively while listening. And the fourth one is you should follow up in writing during meetings, of course. No matter how compelling your meeting was, it's probable that those in attendance will not remember everything that was shared. Prior to the meeting, designate a person to take notes. Assimilate this information into a bullet pointed email to send your team as a follow up and refresher. Short, concise notes will keep important information fresh in people's minds. Last one is you should inform and inspire. Communication is a form of information exchange. Explaining and clarifying your thoughts and ideas is important in a leadership role or as a teacher. But passing on information to your team is only half of the equation. So, as a leader or as a teacher, it's vital to your business or to your profession that your communication efforts inspire your team or your coworkers or your students as much as you educate them. Plan ahead for meetings and conversations so you can effectively mix information and inspiration. Whenever possible, talk about how things are going and brainstorm ways to continue improving communication between you and your employees or your coworkers or to the parents of your students. Um, workplace is Workplace communication is vital to an organization's ability to be productive and operate smoothly. And here are the advantages and the disadvantages of the workplace communication. So, what are the advantages of workplace communication? It increases in overall employee performance because through workplace communication, it allows the employees to communicate well and which it improves and increases the level of their overall performance in the workplace. The employees will become more accurate, neat, attentive to detail, consistent, thorough, high standards, and of course, they follow procedures. Second advantage is it increases the employee satisfaction. Take note of this. We're going to talk about the upward and the downward communication. The upward communication is the line of communication through which subordinates can convey information to their seniors. Sorry for that. For example, if bosses or managers are able to listen to the employees and respond, this leads to an increase in employee job satisfaction. While in downward communication, this is the formal chain of command established to direct subordinates and convey information excuse me, pertaining to the organization's objectives, policies, and strategies. For example, is when the manager directly acknowledges the work of the employees, of course, it will result in job satisfaction for the employees or the employers. Another thing is positive effects on absenteeism and turnover rates. Actually, workplace communication can decrease the rates of absenteeism and turnover. When employees and managers can communicate well, it will enable the managers to understand the employees' concerns. If an employee will labor in a few days, she must communicate with her manager to tell her concerns so that she won't get fired by being absent for days. Sorry for my words. I am a little bit sick for today. Okay, so let's continue. Now, let's go on through the disadvantages of communication workplace. One disadvantage is the snowball effect. What is snowball effect? This is a situation in which something increases in size or importance at a faster and faster rate. For example, when employees quit, there is a snowball effect where additional employees also quit. And this usually occurs due to employees who communicate freely with each other over workplace concerns. Another disadvantage is that the information overload. Sorry. Workplace communication can also lead to workers burnout or information overload. While most employees are happy about the ability to communicate with both upward and downward in an organization, there are still limits to the amount of information that they want to receive. For example, if an employee went to a short vacation and he's receiving too many messages or repetitive information, of course, it can hamper the employee's productivity. But all in all, workplace communication can motivate the employees, can increase the productivity, and decrease absenteeism and turnover. I want you to remember that workplace communication must remind that employees need to feel that they are able to communicate with their superiors and with their coworkers. Now, after discussing about the workplace communication, we're going to talk about business letters. So what is business letters? These are letters which are used by organizations to communicate in a professional way. Since it's in a professional way, it uses formal language and a specific format. And many companies use it to convey important information and messages. According to Rigsgo, the primary purposes of business letters are to inform, instruct, request, inquire, remit, order, advise, correct, and to question. In here, of course, we have the different parts of business letter. First one is the heading. The heading includes the last address on the date on the last line. This contains the return address with the date on the last line. Sometimes it is necessary to include a line before the date with a phone number, fax number, or email address. Often, there is a line skipped between the address and the date. It is not necessary to type a return address if you are using stationery with the return address already imprinted, but you should always use a date. Make sure that the heading is on the left margin. The second one is the recipient's address. This is the address you are sending your letter to. So be sure to make it as complete as possible so it gets to its destination. Always include title names such as Doctor, Mr., Miss, if you know them. Be sure to skip a line after the heading and before the recipient's address. Then skip another line after the inside address before the greeting. The third one is the salutation. The salutation or greeting in a business letter is always formal. It often begins with "Dear" and follows by the person's name. Once again, be sure to include the person's title if you know it or you know them, such as Mr., Mrs., Miss, Doctor. If you're unsure about the person's title or gender, then just use their first name. Always remember that the salutation always ends with the colon. With a colon. And the next part is the most important part of the letter. And I know that all of us know what it is. This is the body of the letter. This is the meat of the letter. It contains the main purpose of the letter, the very reason for writing. In writing the body, it is very important that it should be written in a straightforward, simple, and coherent manner. Remember, this is a business letter and it should be in a formal way. The body of the letter is usually composed of 1 to 3 brief paragraphs, each with a specific intent and organized for clarity. First one is the introduction. It explains the reason for the letter and what you want to achieve with it. If the recipient doesn't know who you are, you can also mention mutual connections here. Sorry if you can hear the dog's bark. Let's continue. The second paragraph gives more detail about your request, such as the steps you've taken or fees paid in case of marketing or job application letters. The second paragraph is where you'll sell the product you're promoting or your application. And the third paragraph is actually optional and is included in situations where second paragraph isn't enough to explain the situation in a full. The next part is the complementary closing or the complementary close. This is a short and polite remark that ends your letter. The close begins at the same justification as your date, and one line after the last body paragraph. Capitalize the first word of your closing, for example, thank you, and leave 4 lines for a signature between the close and the sender's name. A comma should always follow the closing. The last one is the signature block or the signature line. Skip at least 4 lines after the close for your signature and then type out the name to be signed. Type out your name. If you're printing this letter out and sending it by mail, you will sign your name in pen. This line will include your first name and last name, and often includes a middle initial, although it is not required. You may put your title beforehand to show how you wish to be addressed. If you want to be addressed as Miss Biteng, you are allowed to put it. And after Knowing the parts of business letters, let us discuss about the formats of business letters. Oh, wait. This is an example of a business letter. See over there, you have the heading, the date, the recipient's address, the salutation, the body, the closing, and the signature line. Okay, let's go on to the formats of business letters. There are actually three. First one is block. This is the most common format for business letters because it's the easiest one. You don't have to worry about indents and everything is left justified. Single spacing is used instead of indents for new paragraphs. Second one is the modified block. All parts of the letter are tabbed on the left, single space, and justified, except the heading and the closing, which are tabbed in the center. Sorry. The last one is the semi-block. These are the paragraphs are indented instead of placing them all on the left. Heading is on the center and the date can be placed in the right side 3 spaces after the heading. The recipient's address is on the left and the closing is on the right. Semi-block is also called the indented block or format, indented format. So, in here, in business letters, there are many examples of it, but here are some frequently written in business letters. First one is the letter of complaint. Okay, here. Not all complaints can be aired and addressed properly on social media. Some topics are a little sensitive or embarrassing. You don't want to run the risk of it going viral. Then, there are complaints where a call to the company's customer service hotline isn't enough. For all these complaints, a printed letter of complaint is the answer. Make your complaint brief, to the point, and polite. But don't just make it about what the company did wrong. Tell them exactly what you want them to do about it. Okay, and the second one is the resignation letter. You can't see it because my face is over there. It's the resignation letter. This is what an employee sends to their boss when they want to quit their job. But in most cases, you'll need to allow at least 14 days or 2 weeks before your official departure date from the company. The next example is the recommendation letter. I hope you're taking notes because the other words aren't able to be seen. Recommendation letter are sent to verify an applicant's good standing with a previous employer or manager. In some cases, these recommendations are nothing more than a template generated by someone after filling in the blanks about an employee's start and end date. If you're writing a cover letter for a good employee, however, it's better if you go beyond the template to show that you appreciate the time you work together. The next example is the letter to request information. Letters requesting for information are often sent to businesses by individuals or representatives of other business when they want information on a particular product or service. These letters can also be written to government offices when requesting information about applying for a permit or inquiring about a government procedure. Oh, sorry, I didn't show that. Okay, there. Another is the adjustment or change letter. Have you ever received a letter stating your phone bill's due date was adjusted or that the amount you're paying has been changed? That's an adjustment letter. It's not all about dates and amounts though. Adjustment or change letters are also sent when business want to notify customers about changes in the product or service they bought. Thank you for listening. But knowing all of this will help you in creating a formal business letter writing today, tomorrow, and of course, in the future. But before I end this video, I want you to always remember that in the future, or as a future teacher or a worker, you should always remember that it is important for us to apply ethics in communicating in the workplace. Not just the workplace, but anyone, anywhere, anytime, when you're communicating, always instill a proper way of communication. Once again, I am Glaiza Biteng, the representative of Group 8. Thank you for listening, everyone, and goodbye. Have a great day.